as I told you, we just wanted, yeah, to make our project live again, and we were thinking that successful women have maybe their own recipes how to deal with the whole this situation. And that's why I just wanted to hear your opinion, and maybe if you ask me, if you can answer me some of 3 questions, what I wrote to you, like how do you deal with the situation, how do you maintain your activity, and what you're doing at this moment.
Mhm. So I think I had to rebuild a lot of my work because of the crisis, because most of my work was conferences, so conferences don't exist anymore. So that forced me to think about, what can I do? What is still possible in this time? What can I concentrate on? Since I can no longer do my work, and it's forced me to kind of recreate myself and be
Oh,
creative. And I've
mhm,
been focusing a lot on more creative aspect of my work. So I'm focusing on uh, my podcast right now,
mhm,
which interviews male leaders and CEOs about gender equality
yeah.
uh, and creating content,
Mhm.
writing articles, contributing, my knowledge to what's happening in the world right now, especially around women.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've repurposed my nonprofit led by her
Mhm.
around a digital platform to help women entrepreneurs, because we were doing only physical activities such as hackathons, events, and things that were going on in the sphere of the real world.
Yeah.
Um, so we had to, kind of digitalize, and it was a bit of a digital revolution that we went
Mhm.
through. So it's forced me to, in a way, rethink everything that I was doing before
Yeah.
and figuring out how is it possible for me to do it now?
Mhm. So this is called the other half, right?
Yes,
The
the
podcast.
podcast, yeah.
It's only the podcast. It's not a video. It's not a video.
It's
It's
only
only
yeah, it's
audio.
only audio.
Okay. Okay. And so if you type on Google like the other half, we can find it. Or is there a link? Maybe you.
Exactly. And you can find it, yeah,
Maybe you
you
can
can
send
find
me
it
a
on
link
all
because yeah.
podcast platforms. So you
Mhm.
can find it on Google Podcast, on iTunes,
Sure.
um, on Spotify, any podcast platform
Okay.
as well. Listen.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And so, yes, the second question was about the positive sides and the negative sides. What do you see maybe positive in the lockdown, or and another half, yeah, it will be negative points.
So I think what has been really important for me has been to focus on what can I do because of this. So to find opportunities in the crisis, because I think, one thing is that crisis forces us to think in a different way, and we perhaps are afraid to think that way when everything is comfortable and everything is going well.
Yeah.
So it forces us to reinvent ourselves, and maybe in reinventing ourselves, we find new projects and new things that we did not think about.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I'm seeing this as an opportunity also to work on things, because I think, for example, intellectual work like creating content is very important for sending my message out to the world. But I
Mhm.
don't have any time to do that in my normal life because I'm always traveling, I'm giving conferences, I'm
Mhm.
doing this and that.
Yeah.
So this has been like a tremendous opportunity to do that. And so I'm using it for that, and for any kind of creative work, any kind of maybe I'm thinking about turning this into a book, who knows. So I'm kind of using this time and the fact that I have time to explore,
Yeah.
um, and also do things differently. So yeah. And I
Mhm.
think that when you are also forced to, like, you find new solutions, which is
Yeah.
this is the part that I like. I also like having more time. I like having deeper conversations.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
I like, and really, I also like really taking my time to, every day, like, be outside for a bit,
Yeah.
and being very grateful for that, and
Mhm.
taking some walks, and
Mhm.
being in nature, and using all of this, using this time to do and have everything that I don't really have in
Yeah,
my life.
sure. That's really a nice positive side of this. Yeah, that's true. And so, what about negative? I guess it's easier to
Yeah,
name.
well, I mean, the negative is very easy on the surface, right? Because I mean, all my nonprofit, we were doing everything in the physical world. What I was doing was conferences.
Mhm.
So conferences don't exist anymore. So I've lost. There was at the beginning of
Yeah.
this, I kind of lost everything. So I
Mhm.
had to rethink about everything, and obviously that didn't feel good because you feel like you worked so many years to create something, and then you find yourself with nothing.
Mm.
So it's, obviously in the beginning it hits you in a very hard way. And then you just need to figure out, okay, like, what does this mean? Where do I go from here? And
Yeah.
what are the solutions that I can do? And what can I do about this?
Yeah.
So, I think that's definitely very important. And I think something else is obviously, um, there's a lot of worry. There's a lot of worry um, about the world. There's a lot of worry about people who we might be sick. There's a lot of worry about
Mhm.
economic uncertainty, and there is a lot of worry that we need to kind of cope with in the world right now. So I think that's something that we should all kind of acknowledge and consider, and
Mhm.
um, yeah, and make, obviously take that into account. I don't think we should like forget about that or erase that. Um,
Yeah, sure, of course. And actually, yes, I had the last questions basically. What can be your advice to our readers or to people who will see the video, and how can they cope better with the situation? Or maybe you have, like, I don't know, books or movies or any good advices or best practices to share with us.
Yeah. So something that I realized, is I was spending too much time in the first few weeks of this, being on the screen. So being on Zoom calls, being on this
Mhm.
and that, everything behind the screen.
Yeah.
And then I felt like I kind of got to the end of the day and I felt like I didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to do a lot more things, like in present, whether that's like reading a physical book in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
um, going for a walk, just being in nature, laying in the sun, um, anything, baking a cake, anything. But I'm just trying to do things like more in the present rather than virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
Mm-hmm.
think that helps me keeps me grounded. And it makes me feel like, um, I'm still kind of like living a daily life, and I still have a life, and not just on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's really important to me. And then I think having a routine is very, very, very important,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a weird time where the day kind of all warps into one, and there's no separation between time.
Yeah.
So it can be really challenging. So I think that's very important. And then, do what you love. Take the time to do what you love,
Mm-hmm.
and, really enjoy doing it, because in a way we have a luxury of time that most of us never had before. So I think that's one of the advantages of this. But, um, at the same time, I think, it's also about thinking about solutions and figuring it out, rather than just problems and what happened to us. I think we need to kind of quickly think about, okay, what can we do? Where can we go from there? What is possible? How can you take what you've already done and
Mm-hmm.
rethink of it in a creative way, repackage it in a different way?
Mm-hmm.
How can it be pertinent? And I think that there's, the world is very hungry right now for connection and for content.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's a great time. It's a great time for that, because a lot
Mm.
of people are thinking about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's good. It's also an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then who knows where that will bring. So I'm more doing it with a philosophy of, right now this is important to me, and so I want to do it now, because I feel like I need to express myself in this way. I feel like I need to continue delivering my message. and I need to continue doing things. But at the same time, um, it can be that it leads me to write a book, it leads me to other things.
Yeah.
And even when we, we'll get out of this,
Mhm.
everything that I've done and everything that I've accomplished during this time, it will all still be there
Yeah.
for me.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is to keep being pertinent and keep being active.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put in that energy, something will develop out of that energy.
Yeah. Wow. That's very, very positive way of seeing all the situation. Yeah, great. Okay. Well, thank you very much. You answered all my questions, and I hope it will be really and I'm sure it will be really useful for our followers and just to know how you cope with this. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Bye bye.
Let's keep in touch. Bye bye. Thank you.